Transform challenges into opportunities with Stoic wisdom on Amor Fati. Imagine this: you're standing on the edge of a massive cliff. Behind you lies the path you've walked, marred with failures, heartbreaks, and betrayals. Ahead, there's the vast unknown. You feel paralyzed. The wind is howling. The ground beneath your feet feels shaky, and every fiber of your being screams, "Turn back!" But what if, instead of retreating or hesitating, you leapt forward not out of recklessness, but out of a deep embrace of life's uncertainties? This is the heart of Amor Fati, the Stoic principle of loving one's fate, and it's the antidote to fear, regret, and doubt. What if every challenge, every disappointment, every mistake was a gift? What if the universe, in its infinite wisdom, orchestrated every twist and turn specifically for your growth? Amor Fati isn't about blind optimism or pretending life is perfect. It's about transforming adversity into fuel, obstacles into stepping stones, and tragedies into wisdom. And to do that, we must delve into the profound wisdom of the Stoics, philosophers who stared chaos in the eye and found serenity. I want you to picture a scene from the life of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome. It's the height of the Antonine Plague, a deadly epidemic sweeping through the empire, killing millions. Soldiers are deserting, the economy is collapsing, and the people are looking to their leader for salvation. Marcus sits alone in his tent, scribbling what would later become meditations, his private journal. He doesn't write about despair or hopelessness. Instead, he pens these immortal words: "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." Now stop for a moment and think. When life throws suffering, loss, or failure your way, do you let it consume you, or do you let it refine you? This question is central to Amor Fati. The fire doesn't ask whether the logs it's fed are dry or damp. It simply burns. Likewise, Stoicism teaches us to accept whatever life gives us, not just to endure it, but to love it. But how can we love things that hurt us? How can we embrace heartbreak, failure, or loss? Let's dive deeper. When we face adversity, our natural instinct is to resist it. We curse the situation, blame ourselves or others, and spiral into what the Stoics call destructive emotions like anger, fear, or grief. Resistance is rooted in the illusion of control. We believe that if only we had done something differently, or if the world were fairer, things would be better. But Stoicism shatters this illusion. Epictetus, a former slave who rose to become one of the most influential philosophers in history, reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Think about that for a second. Let it sink in. What if the most painful event in your life wasn't inherently bad, but only became bad because of the story you told yourself about it? Let me give you an example. Imagine losing your job. To one person, it's a disaster, proof they're a failure. To another, it's an opportunity to pivot towards something they're passionate about. The event is the same. The story is different, and the story is where your power lies. So here's a question for you. What stories are you telling yourself about your challenges? Are they stories of defeat or stories of transformation? Amor Fati invites us to rewrite these stories. It doesn't ask us to deny pain or pretend that life is easy. Instead, it asks us to transcend the dichotomy of good and bad, to say, "This is my path, and I will walk it with courage." Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, lived this wisdom. As a statesman in Nero's court, Seneca faced betrayal, exile, and eventually death. Yet his writings brim with gratitude. He viewed every hardship as a lesson, every setback as a chance to practice resilience. He once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The Stoics understood that challenges aren't interruptions to life, they are life. The universe doesn't conspire to break you, it conspires to shape you. Let me ask you something profound. What if the very thing you're resisting right now, the heartbreak, the failure, the uncertainty, is the thing that will make you stronger, wiser, and freer? What if your greatest enemy is not the challenge itself, but your unwillingness to embrace it? We've explored the foundation of Amor Fati, acceptance and transformation. But acceptance doesn't mean passivity. To love your fate is to act within it. Marcus Aurelius puts it beautifully. Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Don't fill your mind with all the bad things that might still happen. Stay focused on the present situation and ask yourself, why is this so unbearable? Why can't you endure it? You'll be embarrassed to answer. The next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, what's in my control? If it's within your control, take action. If it's not, let it go. You see, Amor Fati isn't just a mindset, it's a practice. And like any practice, it requires daily effort. You must train your mind to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as detours to a better path. Take a moment and reflect. What if you woke up tomorrow and decided to love everything that happened to you, no matter how difficult? How would your life change? The fire within mastering resilience through the dichotomy of control. Imagine you're a sailor in the midst of a violent storm. The wind tears at your sails. The waves crash against your boat, and the horizon disappears in a curtain of rain. In that moment, you face a critical choice. Do you panic and fight the storm, or do you steady the helm, adjust the sails, and focus on keeping your ship afloat? This choice encapsulates the Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control, a framework that teaches us where to direct our energy and how to cultivate unshakable resilience. The Stoics believed that life is like the storm, unpredictable and uncontrollable. But within that chaos lies a profound truth. While we cannot control the external forces of the world, we have complete control over our inner responses. This is the key to mastering resilience. Epictetus put it succinctly, some things are up to us, and some things are not. But how do we determine what's within our control and what isn't? Let's break it down. The Stoics divided life into two categories: the things we can control and the things we cannot. What's within our control? Our thoughts, our actions, our choices, and our attitudes. What lies beyond our control? Everything else, other people's opinions, the outcomes of our efforts, the weather, and even our own mortality. This simple distinction has the power to transform your perspective. It shifts your focus from what's outside of you to what's within. Instead of wasting energy worrying about the uncontrollable, you channel it toward what you can influence. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine preparing for a job interview. You can't control whether the interviewer will like you, how many other candidates applied, or even if the company's financial situation will allow for hiring. What you can control is your preparation, your punctuality, and the clarity with which you present yourself. So here's a question for you. In your current challenges, are you focusing on what you can control, or are you obsessing over what you can't? The dichotomy of control isn't just about acceptance. It's about freedom. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself from anxiety, frustration, and disappointment. You become like the sailor who, instead of cursing the storm, focuses on navigating through it. This practice requires a shift in mindset. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It's the act of mentally rehearsing potential obstacles so you're prepared when they arise. Marcus Aurelius often began his day by imagining the challenges he might face. Rude people, unexpected delays, or physical discomfort. But instead of dreading these events, he saw them as opportunities to practice virtue. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, not of the same blood or birth, but the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine." This practice isn't about pessimism. It's about preparation. trains you to face challenges with equanimity and grace. Let's pause and reflect. What if, instead of fearing the worst, you prepared for it with calm confidence? How would that change the way you approach your day? The dichotomy of control also teaches us to let go of attachment to outcomes. We often equate success with achieving specific results, but the Stoics remind us that true success lies in effort, not outcomes. Take the example of a runner preparing for a marathon. They can't control the weather on race day, the competition, or whether they'll win. What they can control is their training, their mindset, and their commitment to giving their best. If they've done everything within their power, they've already succeeded, regardless of the result. Seneca puts it beautifully: begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. This mindset liberates us from the tyranny of external validation. It allows us to find fulfillment in the process, not just the outcome. So, let me ask you, are you measuring your life by what you achieve, or by how you live each moment? But what happens when we fail? Even after giving our best, failure is inevitable, and the Stoics saw it not as a dead end, but as a teacher. Every setback is an opportunity to grow. Consider Thomas Edison's famous quote, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This attitude is pure Stoicism in action. Edison didn't see failure as a reflection of his worth, but as part of the process. He embraced failure as a step towards success. The Stoics remind us that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a component of it. When we accept failure as a natural part of life, we stop fearing it. We begin to see it as a catalyst for growth. Take a moment to think. What failures in your life have taught you the most valuable lessons? How might you view your current struggles as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks? Amor Fati, when combined with the dichotomy of control, becomes a powerful tool for resilience. It allows us to embrace life in its entirety, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It teaches us that even the darkest moments have meaning, and that our power lies not in changing the world, but in mastering ourselves. To love your fate is to say, "This is my life, and I will live it fully." It's to see every storm as a chance to become a better sailor, every challenge as a chance to become a better person. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So, the next time you face a challenge, remember this: the obstacle isn't in your way, it is the way. Loving your fate, the path to freedom and inner peace. Imagine standing at the intersection of all the events in your life, the triumphs and the heartbreaks, the successes and the failures. Picture these moments not as disjointed fragments, but as threads woven into a single, cohesive tapestry. This is the essence of Amor Fati, the unconditional love and acceptance of one's fate. To love your fate is not merely to tolerate life's events, but to embrace them as essential pieces of your story, each with a purpose, each with its own gift. Why is this so powerful? Because to love your fate is to unlock the freedom to live without resistance. It's the path to true inner peace, a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances but arises from within. Let's begin by exploring what it means to fully embrace your fate, not just in moments of joy, but also in moments of pain. When we talk about loving our fate, it's easy to romanticize the idea. It's simple to love the parts of life that bring us happiness, success, or recognition. But what about the parts that hurt, the betrayals, the losses, the disappointments? How can we possibly love those? The Stoics argue that life's difficulties are not flaws in the system. They are the system. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Does the nature of the whole misfire? Or do the parts of its body, the universe, deliberately work in a harmful way? No. The misfire and harm come only from the parts if they're at odds with the whole, if they're disconnected from it." This is a profound insight. The universe is not out to harm us. The events we perceive as bad are simply the workings of a larger system, one that we cannot fully comprehend. Our task is not to fight this system, but to align ourselves with it. To love your fate, even in suffering, is to recognize that pain is not a punishment. It's a signal. It's the universe's way of teaching you something you need to learn. So, let me ask you, what if the pain you're experiencing right now is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your transformation? Loving your fate doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. The Stoics were not advocates of emotional repression. They understood the importance of processing grief, anger, and fear, but they also taught that these emotions should not control us. Epictetus offers a striking analogy. When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. Imagine two people experiencing the same event, a missed flight. One person becomes enraged, pacing the airport, cursing the airline. The other calmly finds a quiet corner to read, using the delay as an opportunity to relax. The situation is identical, but their responses are worlds apart. Which response would you choose? This is the power of Amor Fati. It allows us to take ownership of our responses. It gives us the freedom to transform frustration into patience, loss into gratitude, and adversity into resilience. Now, let's go deeper. To love your fate is to see the interconnectedness of all things. Is to understand that every event in your life, no matter how small, has led you to this moment. The Stoics often compared life to a play. You don't get to choose the script, but you do get to choose how you perform your role. Seneca wrote, "Life, if you know how to use it, is long." This isn't about adding more years to your life. It's about filling your life with meaning. When you embrace Amor Fati, every moment becomes an opportunity to live fully. Even the mundane tasks, washing dishes, sitting in traffic, folding laundry, can become acts of mindfulness and gratitude. What would your life look like if you approached every moment with this mindset? Would you still resent the small inconveniences? Or would you see them as opportunities to practice patience and presence? One of the most powerful aspects of Amor Fati is its ability to dissolve fear. Fear thrives on uncertainty, on the what-ifs and could-happens of life. But when you love your fate, fear loses its grip. Why? Because you've already made peace with whatever life throws your way. The Roman general and philosopher, Cato, exemplified this fearlessness. He faced political corruption, personal attacks, and even the collapse of the Roman Republic. Yet he remained steadfast, unshaken by external chaos. His secret, a deep commitment to living in alignment with virtue and a refusal to be controlled by fear. Cato's life poses a challenging question. If you were to lose everything tomorrow, your job, your home, your reputation, would you still have the courage to embrace life? This is the ultimate test of Amor Fati. It asks us to let go of our attachments and trust that whatever happens is exactly what is meant to happen. Finally, loving your fate leads to the most profound freedom of all, the freedom to live authentically. When you stop resisting life, you stop pretending to be someone you're not. You no longer need to chase external validation or conform to societal expectations. You become free to be yourself. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about intellectual debates or abstract theories. It's about living a life of integrity, courage, and love. It's about showing up fully for yourself and others, no matter the circumstances. So, as we conclude this journey into Amor Fati, I leave you with one final question. What would it take for you to stop fighting life and start loving it? What would it look like to embrace every moment, every triumph, every setback, every heartbreak as a gift? This is the challenge and the promise of Amor Fati, to transform challenges into opportunities, to find freedom in acceptance, to live with unwavering peace, no matter what. Final reflection. If you could wake up tomorrow and truly embrace Amor Fati, how would your life change?